Have you ever felt completely surrounded by darkness? Not the kind that comes when the sun goes down, but the kind that fills your heart when everything falls apart. When you get bad news. When the door you prayed for stays shut. When you cry out to God and all you hear is silence. In those moments, it feels like the light is gone, like hope disappeared, like you're walking through a valley with no way out. But what if the darkness isn't proof that God has left you? What if it's an invitation to look more closely? Because sometimes it's in the deepest darkness that we start to notice the smallest light. And that light, no matter how faint, might just be God whispering, "I'm still here. I haven't left you. Keep walking." Today's story is about those moments, the ones where nothing makes sense and giving up feels easier than holding on. But through it, we'll discover a powerful truth. God's light still shines, even in your darkest times. And maybe the darkness isn't the end. It's where something new begins. Chapter 1. When darkness feels overwhelming. There are seasons in life when everything feels heavy. The kind of heavy that weighs on your chest the moment you wake up. Maybe it's the grief of losing someone you love. Maybe it's a failure that shook your confidence. Or maybe it's just the slow, aching sadness that creeps in when life doesn't look like you hoped it would. In these moments, the world seems dimmer. Prayers feel empty. Worship feels dry. And hope? Hope feels like a distant memory. You look around and wonder, where is God in all this? You're not alone in that feeling. Even the greatest men and women of faith had dark nights. David cried out in the Psalms, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever?" Jesus himself in the garden felt sorrow to the point of death. Darkness doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean God is gone. It just means you're human and you're walking through a valley. But here's the good news. Valleys don't last forever. Darkness may surround you, but it doesn't define you. And it never has the final word. Even if you can't feel God right now, He is still with you. His presence isn't proven by feelings. It's proven by His promise. And His promise is this: I will never leave you nor forsake you. So if you're walking through darkness today, don't give up. Don't let the silence fool you. Light is still coming. And until it breaks through, God is walking beside you. Even here, even now. Chapter 2. Light doesn't always look like what we expect. When we think of God's light, we often picture something dramatic, a miracle, a breakthrough, a sudden change that pulls us out of the darkness instantly. But the truth is, God's light often shows up in quieter ways. It's not always a spotlight. Sometimes it's just a flicker, a small moment of peace in the middle of chaos. A kind word from a friend when you least expect it. A verse that speaks straight to your soul. A moment of stillness where you can breathe again. We can miss His light if we're only looking for the big things. We forget that God often works in the ordinary. He's not always loud. He doesn't always shake the earth. Sometimes He whispers. And if we're too focused on what we want the light to look like, we won't notice the ways He's already showing up. Elijah learned this in the Bible. He expected God in the wind, the earthquake, the fire. But God came in a gentle whisper. Maybe that's what God is doing for you right now. Maybe the reason you feel like He's not there is because He's closer than you think. Speaking softly, guiding gently, giving just enough light for the next step. Not the whole road. Just the next step. And sometimes that's all you need. You don't need to see everything clearly to know He's with you. You just need to follow the light you have, one faithful step at a time. Chapter 3. Darkness is not always a sign of distance. When life gets hard and everything feels dark, it's easy to believe that God has left us. We pray, and the silence feels heavy. We search for answers, and none come. In those moments, we often think, God must be far away. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe he's forgotten me. But what if the darkness isn't a sign that God is distant, but a sign that he's doing something deeper? Think about the seed planted in soil. It's covered in darkness. It's buried. And yet, that's exactly where transformation begins. In the hidden, quiet place. The same is true for us. Some of God's greatest work happens in seasons we don't understand. Seasons where we feel lost, uncertain, unseen. But just because we can't feel him doesn't mean he's gone. Just because we can't see the light doesn't mean it's not coming. The truth is, God often hides us before he reveals us. He prepares us in private before he uses us in public. The darkness might not be punishment. It might be preparation. It might be protection. It might be the place where trust is built and pride is broken. So instead of fearing the darkness, what if we embraced it? What if we trusted that God is just as close in the silence as he is in the celebration? His presence doesn't depend on our feelings. He is near, always, even in the dark. Chapter 4. Learning to walk by faith, not by sight. In dark times, our natural instinct is to look for signs. We want proof. We want clarity. We want to see the full picture before we take the next step. But God doesn't always work that way. He often calls us to walk by faith and not by sight. That means moving forward even when we don't know what's ahead. It means trusting even when we feel uncertain. Faith is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to act anyway. It's waking up and saying, God, I don't know how this will turn out, but I'm still with you. It's choosing peace even when the world feels chaotic. In the Bible, there are so many stories of people who stepped into the unknown. Noah built an ark before the rain came. Abraham left his home without knowing his destination. Mary said yes to God's plan, not knowing how it would change her life. They didn't have full understanding, but they had full surrender, and God honored their faith. Maybe today you feel like you're walking through a fog. The path ahead is blurry. You don't know what's next. That's okay. You don't have to see the whole way, just the next step. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who does. So even when it's hard, keep walking, keep praying, keep believing. Because God's light doesn't always come as a spotlight. Sometimes, it's just enough to guide your next step. Chapter 5. What light really looks like. Sometimes we expect God's light to show up like fireworks, big, loud, undeniable. But more often, his light is quiet, gentle, subtle. It shows up in a comforting word from a friend, in a verse that suddenly means more than ever, in the peace that shows up in the middle of a storm. God's light may not remove all your problems, but it reminds you that you are not alone in them. Light doesn't always change your circumstances, but it changes how you see them. When you begin to see with God's perspective, the same situation starts to look different. Pain turns into purpose. Delay turns into development. Fear turns into fuel. Light brings clarity, even if just a little at a time. It reminds you of who God is and who you are in him. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. That doesn't mean the world won't be dark. It means he'll walk with you through it. His light is a promise that no darkness is permanent and no night lasts forever. It might take time. It might take tears, but the light will come. And when it does, you'll realize he was there all along. Chapter 6. You are not alone. One of the hardest parts of dark seasons is the feeling of loneliness. We isolate. We wonder if anyone understands. We scroll through perfect lives on social media and feel even more alone in our struggle. But here's the truth. You are not the only one going through this. You are not the only one who has felt broken, confused, or afraid. And most importantly, You are not alone. God is with you. Even when the prayers feel unanswered. Even when the nights feel long. Even when the silence is deafening. His presence is not proven by emotion. It is promised by His word. He says, I will never leave you or forsake you. Not on your good days, not on your bad days, not ever. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. You don't have to be strong all the time. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He just asks you to be real, to come to Him honestly, to let Him comfort, strengthen, and restore you. And while people may not see your pain, God sees every tear. He knows every fear, and He holds every piece of your heart. Don't hide in the darkness. Reach for the light. Even a whisper of God help me is enough. If you are walking through darkness right now, hold on. It won't last forever. Just like night always gives way to morning, your pain has an end. And when it comes, you'll look back and see how far you've come. You'll see that even in the silence, God was speaking. Even in the waiting, God was working. Even in the tears, God was healing. You'll see that the darkness you feared was actually where God shaped you the most. That's the mystery of His love. He doesn't always remove the storm, but He always sits with you in the boat. You are never abandoned, never forgotten. His light will guide you. His grace will carry you. And His presence will never leave you. So take heart. You are not walking through this alone. God's light is still shining, even in dark times, and the dawn is already on its way.